Hello, writers. Come write with me. My name is Michaela Greenwood. I create worlds for mind adventures. Welcome to my channel, Write with Michaela. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell so you can go on this journey with me. Today is Tuesday, and today I'm going to give you an analogy. And it may seem like I'm giving it to you backwards, but I think it'll make more sense this way. We did discuss analogies on one of my episodes, and I told you about similes and metaphors and analogies, but I didn't give you an example. So today we're going to get that example. First, I will give you a simile. Do we remember simile? A simile is a figure of speech that compares two otherwise dissimilar things, introduced by the words like or as. And then the metaphor you straight compare, like we said for the metaphor, life is a highway instead of life is like a highway. So we discussed those two things. So I'm going to tell you that a very good, complete story is like an evenly woven, beautiful blanket. Now we'll take that apart a bit and then we'll build on it so that we get the full analogy. Okay, let's look at the blanket. You don't want a holey blanket. You don't want a blanket that's woven unevenly. You want it evenly woven so that it's warm and its design is easy to see. Our stories need everything to be interrelated. Everything needs to fit together without loose ends. Now, by loose ends, I'm not talking about the fringe on a blanket. I'm talking about a piece of yarn or string that you've woven partway into the blanket and you still have blanket to go and you just kind of leave it hanging there and you don't finish weaving it in. So that's a loose end. Or instead of going partway through and dropping off in the middle, you extend it beyond the blanket, but one can see the whole picture. So those are your loose ends. Is when you don't tie them or you don't weave them into the story. You just kind of leave them off. You stop that person. When we write our stories, we are making pictures with our words. We are creating more than a blanket. We are creating whole worlds. But we'll stick with a blanket for now, for the analogy. So, what happens with a blanket if you suddenly change colors of yarn in the middle of weaving? You're weaving with a red thread and all of a sudden you get orange. You just continue with orange. And if you're really crocheting or knitting or weaving, this happens when the store runs out of the dye lot that you need. That's why they tell you to buy all that you need at the beginning. But in a story, what is this in a story? It can be switching scenes or characters abruptly. In our cave scenes, we did switch. When we went back to look at the people who might be searching for us or our main character. But then we went back to our main character. So that's not quite what I'm saying. What I'm saying would be switching out yarns would be more like switching to the people searching for our main character and then writing the rest of the story from there and never going back to any scenes with our main character. Talk about frustrating your readers. You leave her in the cave and then you go on with these other people. They'd be like, what happened to Zalira? What happened to Zalira? Where's Zalira? What happened to this? Your readers would be just like, where is that? Where is that? And that would be very frustrating. And then that wouldn't be a good story. When I switched to the other people, they were still concerned about my main character. And they even talked about her a little bit, which was something that might help my readers have a clue about something that comes up in the next scene. So they're talking about her is that interrelated thing, because when they say that she seems to know things, and then she goes and you see that she's doing stuff, and you're just like, how did she do that? Well, she seems to know things. So that kind of connects things and it interrelates things. And that's getting the full picture. That's weaving the blanket. That's everything we need to do. You don't just jump off and go to the other scene and not have it connected back or related back. It's like jumping and not finishing the blanket and going to another blanket starting. So, I think you get the comparison now. I think you get the analogy. So, let's go a little farther. Let's talk about the shared plots. Now, when I gave the shared plots, I said bare bones. And when I read, I say rough draft. So, now we're talking about a net. Think of a fishing net or a volleyball net. They're full of holes. No obvious picture. The colors don't continue down to make whatever beauty they do with those blankets. We don't want our stories to look like a net. We want to weave in a little more yarn. Now, certainly a net is a good start. It gives you a base. It gives you some anchors or a main plot. It gives you themes and ideas. But it is not a blanket by any means. When we write our stories, I gave some shared plots. And that is like giving you a loom, giving you some yarn. Then the first or second run through of writing is building the net. You're putting the main strings and the anchors in. So when you edit, then you're pulling some of the threads more tautly so the weave can be even. Then when you want to add to or fill out your stories by adding emotions, observations, weather descriptions, etc., then we're adding more yarn and more picture and more design to our blankets. Now, removing passive voice and removing dangling modifiers is smoothing out our weaving a bit. So that should help you kind of understand when I'm saying there's rough draft. It's more of a net and not a blanket. It needs editing. It needs filling out. It needs more observations, more weather, more whatever that I've left out of those stories. Now, how do you know when you have finished your story? The same as with the blanket. When you step back and see the picture or design of your blanket, there are no gaping holes, the color runs smoothly to the next one, you have finished your blanket. With your stories, you step back and everything is interrelated. You've answered most all questions. You've built to the awesome climax. And you've tied in all loose ends with your epilogue. Side note, I said answered questions, or most questions, because there could be a second book. And also, we might not anticipate every question from our readers. You try to think of them, but there might be a reader that just really keyed into one aspect and they have a question about it. So you can't anticipate everything. But if you've answered most of them and you tie in all these loose ends, you don't have just little pieces of yarn sticking out in the middle of the blanket not being woven in, then you've finished your story. When you've done that and you feel like you have polished your story, and it gives you a nice picture, then you have finished your story. That's how you will have that sense of completeness. Now, sometimes I'll finish a rough draft and I'll put it down for a week or two. Then I'll pick it up to start polishing or to repolish or reread. Of course, since I've been writing for the channel, I did not do that with City of the Ancients. It's still a rough draft. I haven't done that with Tahia. It's still a rough draft. I'm still writing book 3 of Eleni's Pride, so that will be true of that story as well. What I present on the channel is a net. I have not read to you a story that is a fully woven blanket. I enjoy the stories and I enjoy sharing them, but they need quite a bit of editing and polishing before I can publish them. So this is just a journey for us to go together so you can kind of see the process of something that is the start of the story. And it's good. I like it. It's fun. But it's not the finished product. And I wanted you to understand that. So that's another reason why I'm giving this analogy today. Now, let's look at, let's kind of further this analogy a bit. If you write children's books, you don't have to have as tight a weave. You know, it can be a little looser, be a little lacy. You know, especially if there are pictures to accompany the story. That's not to say things aren't interrelated in a children's books. That's just to say that the surface meaning is fine. Your story doesn't have to have layers and layers and layers. That's not to say no theme. Because you certainly want a message in the children's story. But the message might be something like, share with friends. A book for preteens might show something like not to backstab your friends or not to trust strangers online. You know, it's a little bit more complicated than share with friends. Then for adults, your theme can be more complex. You can have multiple themes and multiple layers throughout. So that the adults, you know, if you have an adult's book, then they can read through it, and wherever they are in their life, they're going to get something from it. But then a couple years later, they come and they read it again, and they might get something different because there's that layer there. There's multiple themes. Maybe they keyed into one theme, and the next time they read it, they key in to something else. So your weave, your blanket weave, is more for the adults than it is for the children. Mood for a children's book might have basic emotions like happy and sad, you know, happy, sad, you know, but adult books can run the whole gamut of emotions. Plot for a children's book might be see a rainbow, find the end, find the gold, right? But for an adult, there needs to be more to your interwoven plot. That the adults, that's not going to cut it for them. They okay, yeah, I see the rainbow, but, you know, there's got to be something, you know, there's got to be something fighting at the end to get that pot of gold. I can't just go see and run to it, you know, when you're writing for adults. The kids, that's fine. You find the rainbow, you slide down, you find the gold, everything's happy. But with an adult, okay, there's got to be, you know, an issue to get to the rainbow, and then an issue to climb up, and then an issue to fight trolls or something at the end to get the gold. There's got to be more to it. In other words, a baby blanket is soft and lacy and smaller. So writing for a children's book is a different type of weave or blanket. An adult blanket, well, you get the idea. And you can fill in all the blanks for its appearance and usage. The simile that we stated above, simile was a very good, complete story is like an evenly woven, beautiful blanket. Now, when we looked at simile and metaphor before on the channel, we also defined analogy. We said the purpose of an analogy is not merely to show, but also to explain. For this reason, an analogy is more complex than a simile or a metaphor, which aim only to show without explaining. You can use similes, metaphors, to make an analogy, but usually analogies have additional information to get their point across. Today, I gave an analogy because I didn't just say a story is like a blanket. I explained more of what I meant. I think now you understand that we don't want holy stories, all these holes. And I think you might understand that I'm reading rough drafts on the channel. I hope you understand that we can't just use any yarn to weave our stories. We'll use John today and Sam tomorrow. We got to have some continuance and some interrelated stuff. So we have to use the same yarn or the same character throughout the story, or the same group of characters throughout the story. You might understand also, if you got another level of this analogy, you might understand that passive voice and dangling modifiers make lumpy blankets, or blankets that aren't so smooth. So we want to smooth out our blanket. Leave a comment below on if you can further this analogy. Leave a comment on if you're enjoying the rough drafts that I've shared so far. Join me for Tehillah chapter 22, Aftermath. This is the last chapter of Tehillah that I will read on Friday. Join me next Tuesday for the topic of where do ideas come from? Don't forget to visit my website, bymichaela.com, and read some character bios. If you hit like and subscribe and the bell notification, then we can continue to write together. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your participation. If you know someone who would like this video, then please share it with them. This is Michaela with Write with Michaela. Bye for now.